A long time ago, but also not that long ago, before I was the non-diet, health at every size dietitian that you know me as today, I was what we call in the industry a diet culture dietitian. As you guys might know, my very first job out of college was as a weight loss and bariatric surgery dietitian. And now I primarily see patients who are struggling with eating disorders. What's interesting is how what you are practicing in as a provider tends to heavily influence your personal behaviors, your mindset, all of that. What I mean is that when I was in the trenches as a weight loss dietitian, I was struggling myself with disordered eating, poor body image, a disordered relationship with exercise. So not only has my message changed to my patients and to my audience online, but also to myself. Like the way that I am doing things now in my own life, how I am pursuing health for me, it looks different. And in this video today, I want to discuss that. I have gotten some comments asking me to talk about my fitness journey and explain how my relationship with exercise has changed over the years. I've got my fun afternoon beverage and we're just gonna chat today. I haven't done a video like this in a while where I'm just like chatting to the camera. This will be fun. Let's take it all the way back to like little childhood Hannah. I was an athlete since I was allowed to play sports at like age 4. I played YMCA soccer. I did the upward basketball. I tried upward cheerleading, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I have like distinct memories of the cheerleaders, but I don't know if I was one of them. I know my sister was. Anyway, I played soccer, I played basketball, I played volleyball in middle school, which I loved. I actually wanted to play volleyball in high school, but at my high school, it was the same season as soccer, and soccer was my one true love. I actually really miss playing soccer quite a bit. Once I got into high school, I did play basketball my freshman year on like the JV team or whatever, but then I ditched that and it was just soccer year round. I played at my school, I played club soccer, I traveled. I remember I played on the boys U14 soccer team because there weren't enough girls to play. So there were like 2 or 3 of us girls playing against all boys. It was super fun. And you know, now that I'm thinking about it, this is when I think my body image issues really started. I mean, I'm sure there were little seeds that were planted even younger than this, but as a 14-year-old girl, I'm towering over these middle school boys. They're not hitting their growth spurt until later. And my best friend in high school, who I played sports with, she just had a very different body type than me. Still does. But I could not understand that conceptually at that age. I was always the bigger friend, even though I was still small, thin. But middle school and high school kids are mean. And I remember receiving comments about my body size. I remember people commenting and like gossiping to me about other girls who looked pretty similar to me. I think that was when I really started to notice my body, and I would pay attention to how my thighs touched and how my belly rolled when I sat down. All totally normal things, by the way. Not to mention that I was an athlete, and so I want to have muscle and meat on my bones to perform. Me being bigger than everybody else on the soccer field is what made me a good soccer player at that time. I could kick ass. People would say, "Oh, you just got Hannah'd," whenever I would knock someone out. I got a lot of red cards, I should say. I think I was better suited for rugby, but that was not an option in my small little town in Indiana. So fast forward to high school, playing club soccer year round, traveling, just nonstop, thinking about sports, talking about sports, playing sports. Again, with my best friend who is just in a smaller body than me. That's just how the cookie crumbled. But mind you, this was the early 2000s. We're talking squat challenges on Pinterest, no carb, no fat diets. Social media was like really starting to take off. And I was considering playing soccer in college, so I really wanted to be competitive. I was always searching the best ways to perform, but unfortunately, in my mind at that time, perform meant be thinner, lose weight, you know. You see where I'm going with this? I remember, again, spending like hours, almost like a full-time job's worth amount of hours playing for sports, training for sports, and even outside of like my allotted practices and games, tournaments, I was going on runs. I started doing like home workouts in my bedroom. I remember doing the paleo diet in high school, which, as you may or may not know, is notoriously low in carbohydrates. So needless to say, my performance was like tanking. I'm under eating. I'm having spinach and canned tuna for lunch, and then going to soccer practice a few hours later with absolutely nothing in the tank. Oh, looking back, I just wish that there were accounts on social media that there are now. Maybe there were, I just didn't know about them, but it was still all kind of new at the time. But like now, I have so many social media colleagues I know that talk about sports nutrition, spreading the messages of just how body size can vary, the importance of fueling for sport, including carbohydrates, the importance of sleep and stress management, all things that were not a priority for me. So since my poor body image and my tactics for health and wellness and fitness were not treated in high school, I went into college and just took that to a whole new level. Since I was no longer playing soccer, I ended up not playing in college, but since I was no longer playing sports, I did still want to engage in physical activity. Harmless enough, right? I went to Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, and they have an epic gym. We called it the Co-Rec. I, to this day, miss that place a lot. I loved it there. I ended up getting a job there as one of the fitness consultants, we called them. Basically, I would just be like a hall monitor in the gym, making sure people weren't throwing their weights around, people had their clothes on, spotting people when needed. And I eventually ended up becoming a certified personal trainer, and I trained clients at that gym. I loved it so much. I still do. I miss it all the time. I recently went back to Purdue to visit, and my very first thought was like, I gotta go to the Co-Rec and do a workout there. Unfortunately though, like I said, my relationship with food and exercise at its worst, and this led to obsessive calorie counting, macro tracking, weighing myself in the gym at 5 a.m. every single day, no matter what. Sometimes twice a day. I would do a workout before class, and then I would go in the evening after work. I remember this is when I had my MyFitnessPal era. I was counting calories, classic like 12 to 1500. Nowhere near enough, period, but especially for a 19, 20-year-old girl who is lifting heavy weights. I got pretty darn strong somehow, despite my undernutrition. Beginner's gains, I guess. And although I was building muscle with those beginner gains, my hair was just like so thin and just frizzy and brittle. My skin looked awful, breakouts all the time, just looking so lackluster. Needless to say, I was exhausted, and I think at that time I accompanied it largely to being a college student, right? And you know what? I'm remembering now that I would always talk about how good of a sleeper I was. I would go to bed early and sleep through the night. And I think that was largely due to just exhaustion. I was running myself into the ground. All the while, I'm getting so much praise. Friends, family, classmates. Oh my gosh, Hannah, you look so good. Oh, you're so disciplined. You eat like a rabbit. And that just continued to keep that cycle going. Undereating, overexercising. Again, just like digging my body and my mind into the ground. All while double majoring, working multiple jobs, all 4 years. My husband and I were in a long distance relationship. He went to Indiana University a few hours away, so we were always driving back and forth on the weekends. I don't know how I did it, to be honest. It's wild. It's kind of crazy what you can go through when you're just like in it, and then looking back, it's like, who was that girl? Anyway, progressing the timeline, eventually I finally graduated, got married, moved in with Ross, and started my first job as a weight management and bariatric surgery dietitian. This was also when COVID happened. This was 2020. My very first day, I think, was May of 2020. If you recall, everything was shut down. Very weird starting a job in healthcare at that time. Again, probably a whole other story to be told. But I wasn't able to go to the gym. At that time, I was going to a local YMCA. My parents had like a family membership and I was still on their insurance, so I could go for free for me, basically. But for a good, I want to say like a year or so, if not close to it, the Y was shut down due to COVID. And so I started doing home workouts. And if you guys are OGs, you might remember that my first videos on this channel were workout videos. I wanted to be like a workout YouTuber, post my workouts so you can like follow along. I want to say that I have unlisted those, so you probably can't find them now. But what a time. If you guys have been here since then, I would love to know. Please leave a comment because wow, you are a trooper. I was also posting like workout clips on Instagram. Do you guys remember this? If you were following, gosh, Reels and TikToks weren't a thing yet. And so posting videos on Instagram did not work out well. I did it anyway because I was like trying to get into that game. Always being a try-hard, that girl. Those are still up. You could still find those if you searched hard enough on my Instagram. But at this time, I was still kind of disordered eating-ish. It was slowly getting better. I will say, I don't know if I have COVID to thank for that, if getting out of the gym for a little bit is what ultimately helped me start to heal my relationship with exercise. I was so much more isolated at home. I wasn't comparing my body to everyone else in the gym. There was still online comparison, of course. I mean, still. That's a struggle for me. Something I'll likely always have to work through and be conscious about. But I think it was being at home more that helped me start to realize that doing exercise to that extreme was not helpful. This was around the same time that I also started learning about intuitive eating, the non-diet approach. At that time I was very conflicted and I was doing it at the same time as like promoting intentional weight loss. I was very skeptical of the health at every size movement. Oh my gosh, we have discussed that on the podcast quite a bit. How wishy-washy I used to be about that topic because I worked in a weight loss clinic. Of course I was. I was like hearing all this amazing messaging about health at every size, intuitive eating, the non-diet approach, weight inclusivity, body neutral exercise, all things that I am so keen on now. I was like being drawn to it, but I couldn't fully commit because of the work I was doing every single day. Eventually, the gyms did open back up, of course, and I did start to go back for a little bit, but eventually I was like, ugh, I'm not feeling this. Also, I turned 26 and had to get my own insurance, and so I could no longer go to the YMCA for free, and I didn't want to pay for a gym membership, so for a couple years, I did not step foot into a gym. In fact, I did not step into a gym until April of this year. I had surgery in February and I was cleared to exercise a few weeks later. And at that point, my husband Ross had started going to a local gym and he was loving it. He was in there as often as he could be, just really getting back to his gym bro roots because he's got his own history with exercise as well. At first, I went with him as a guest. We got like a day pass or whatever. And I was like, ooh, I've got the itch. I really want to scratch this. I really want to get back into the gym again. And ever since, I've been loving it. Going back to the gym again with this new perspective of, again, health at every size, body neutrality, joyful movement. It's a totally different ballgame than it was when I was going to the gym in college and even early post-grad. I was under eating, I was exhausted, I would not allow for rest. Now, if I don't want to go to the gym, I don't go. And it's not one of those things that will like spiral into me not going for weeks or months because I love going. I love going to the gym and it's so much more enjoyable now that I am not doing it with just a weight loss mindset. It's so enjoyable. I want to go. It makes me feel good. I feel strong and empowered, largely because not only my mindset has changed, but also I'm eating enough. And so, of course, moving your body feels better when you're fed. But I think this is it for me now. Hopefully nothing bad happens where I can no longer lift anymore. But I'm hoping that this is my future. I plan to continue to keep up my routine. I want to get strong. I want to build muscle. I want to have super dense bones. So when I'm 60, 70, 80 years old, I'm still kicking it. I'm still in my garden, mowing my lawn. I'm going to be that 80-year-old in your gym who is out squatting the 30-year-olds. Mark my words. I never ended up pursuing any professional treatment for my disordered eating. I am so lucky and grateful for where I ended up with my relationship with food and exercise, considering that, because I know so many others who can't relate and others who do seek treatment and still just have such a long journey of getting to this place. If you have access to treatment, whether it be a dietitian, a therapist, whatever it is, a combination of the two, I recommend taking advantage of that. For me, when speaking of my experience, I think I had that benefit of being a dietitian and being pushed to continue learning. It just so happened that my continued education led me into the eating disorder space, the intuitive eating space, the recovery space in general. I sort of self-helped my way to where I am now. And again, I can't say I recommend that approach. If you have access to professional help, take it. Needless to say though, I am so much happier and arguably so much healthier now that I am engaging in joyful movement, body neutrality, whatever buzzword you want to slap on it. And it's not about weight loss. It's not about counting calories. I haven't counted a calorie in 7-8 years. And yeah, my body looks different than it did then. And I can't sit here and say that doesn't ever bother me. You know, there's a part of my brain that is like, ooh, but what if you were thinner? What if you did count calories like you used to? But then logical, rational, recovered brain is like, gross. Oh, that sounds terrible. Remember how miserable you were when you were doing that? Like, yeah, you could see the striations in your deltoids, but also you hated yourself. You were so hungry. I think that's an important distinction with recovery, that there's always going to be those thoughts, those battles, those urges, and it's just about how you respond to them. Those are signs of progress. When you have those thoughts of counting calories again, you have those thoughts of buying a scale and weighing yourself, which I didn't even mention that. I weighed myself religiously in high school and college. You know, how do you respond when a family member, a coworker makes a comment about your body or what's on your plate? It might still bother you a little bit, but no longer letting it spiral into full-blown disordered eating habits. That is progress. That is recovery. As of right now, I am hitting the gym 3, 4, 5 days a week. It really just depends. It depends on my work schedule, Ross's work schedule. I'm currently working through my endometriosis. I think I need to make a whole video about that, what's going on there. Maybe like a 1-year follow-up after my surgery from last year when I got my tubes removed. Anyway, I'm working out a few days a week and eating so intuitively. Generally speaking, I'm aiming for plenty of protein, plenty of fiber, plenty of fluids. There's days that I get tons of fruits and veggies and days that I get literally zero. I'm also a girl on a budget, so I am eating what's available, what's accessible. And that works. It gets the job done. My body feels pretty good considering. If you are currently struggling with disordered eating and disordered exercise, you are 1000% not alone. I'm biased because I work in the eating disorder space, but man, every single day I speak with so many people who struggle with this. If you have insurance, they very well may cover time with a dietitian. There's lots of us who specialize in eating disorders. If you don't have access to that though, I've got tons of resources on my website, blog posts, my favorite books for self-helping your way through this. This is your sign to reconsider what health, what fitness, what it looks like for you. If you are stressed the hell out about going to the gym, about meeting your macros, play around with that. There might be some ways that you can make adjustments and still pursue health. Again, this is not about not caring about yourself. I care about myself so much more now, and that is why I allow for rest. Why I'm not beating myself up in the gym and digging myself into the ground. That's not health. Well guys, I think that is enough yapping. If you guys have more questions about this, my journey, or how we got here, let me know. Leave a comment below. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.